When America was founded, it said that our values were based on the Judeo-Christian teachings of the Bible. Andrew Jackson once said, "That book is the rock on which our republic rests." But through the 20th century, the view of America as a Christian nation has been hotly debated.
Whatever we once were, we are no longer a Christian nation.
This nation was founded primarily on Christian principles.
Which claim should Americans believe? And by what standard do we determine the moral compass for what is right and wrong in our society? George Washington, in his inaugural address of 1789, said, "The propitious smiles of heaven cannot be expected on a nation that disregards the eternal rules of order and right, which heaven itself has ordained." Among our once traditional values was the protection of women and children, once considered a sacred duty among all men. But now, under the guise of so-called liberty, the care of our most vulnerable has been compromised. We can only wonder what the father of our country might say if he could see what is happening to the children of America today and the reasons behind it. Many of America's children are disappearing. According to the Office of Juvenile Justice, a child goes missing every 40 seconds in the United States. While many of these children are recovered, it is estimated that more than 58,000 of them are abducted by non-family members each year. Parents are continually in fear for their child's safety, even in front of their own home. Predators seem to roam the streets of America like never before, searching for prey to carry out their unthinkable desires. Many of our laws are named after raped and murdered children, whose memories echo through our courts crying for justice. But still, the problem only seems to get worse.
And we also see in a lot of these kidnapping and death cases recently by sex offenders that your child can be lost in just an instant.
The faces of children who have been lost continue to haunt us as a society, while watching their parents grieve has become part of a national nightmare. Meanwhile, the images of the sex offenders, the men responsible for these horrors, fills us with fear and loathing. And if a child survives their abuse, they often lead troubled lives, haunted by the memory of what they've endured.
It is awful. Those kids shouldn't be subjected to this. That's awful. It scars them psychologically forever. It affects their lives.
Well, some of the experts say that once a pedophile, always a pedophile, that recidivism is 80 or 90%, if not more.
The United States of America has basically become a pedophile's playground. Jessica Lunsford's father, he said, you know, wake up, America. Your child could be next. And sadly, a lot of people want to turn away from the evidence. They want to turn their heads like the proverbial ostrich with its head in the sand because they don't want to face what's going on until they're forced to face it because it becomes their child.
Title: The Kinsey Code. Verse-heavy narrative with hooks woven in. Intro: spoken word style. They told us science was truth, but never asked whose truth it really was. Behind every data set, a shadow. Behind every footnote, a scream. Verse 1. In the lab coats of prestige, he wore a serpent-esque grin. Alfred Kinsey praised like Darwin, but with sins under skin. Started with the bugs, studied wasps with obsession, but switched to sex opened gates to a darker profession. 1940s, Indiana, he set the stage, collecting stories of desire, youth, and sexual rage. With charts and graphs, he painted pleasure in decay, documenting acts most would turn their eyes away. But science, they claimed, must be objective, even when it fed off the tales of the neglected. Infants on tables, times ticked by with screams, and he called it data shattering the seams. Look. This NT about prudish laws or shame, it's the silence that hides the predator's name. Truth buried deep where the children cry, wrapped in credentials that money can buy. Verse 2. Funded by the Rockefellers, polished with elite gloss, Kinsey's books hit the shelves, no matter the cost. Sexual behavior in the human male, sold lies to the masses like a holy grail. Normalized perversion, blurred all lines, made trauma statistics read like innocent signs. He called it freedom, called repression the crime, but ignored the damage echoing through time. Volunteers and prisoners, abusers with pens, he wrote down their horrors again and again. 50 orgasms in a day for a toddler, still the scholars called him a father. Look. This NT about progress, or breaking chains, it's about who profits from unholy gains. Truth NT science when it's built on pain, don't tell me that research justifies the insane. Bridge, soft-spoken echo, haunting. He said, children are sexual from birth, while broken souls wept from stolen worth. And still the system taught it in schools, as if the devil never wrote the rules. Verse 3. Fast forward Planned Parenthood's halls, Kinsey's name etched deep in the walls. Sex ed programs from his theories bloom, but the roots are toxic, fertilized by doom. No mention of the victims, no justice brought, just cold citations in the lessons taught. They say if you question him, you're anti-science, but I say his legacy breeds defiance. Cause when truth is corrupted for lust and pride, every lie told is another child denied. Denied their voice, denied their peace, while the ivory towers never cease. Look, with more intensity. This NT about culture wars or hate, it's about the doors we let evil create. Truth isn't taboo when children are prey, it's a flame in the dark, burning what they say. Verse 4, climax verse. He died, hailed a pioneer of freedom's cause, but left behind questions that gnaw at laws. From Nambla to the modern pedo rights crew, they quote Kinsey, claim what he said was true. Love knows no age, they hide behind the guise of academic freedom, while the real world cries. But look close, who funds this perversion parade? The same old money that Kinsey obeyed. A legacy laced with the tears of the small, and yet they dare put his name on a lecture hall. This is a call to conscience, not fear, to pull back the curtain and make it clear. Outro, whisper to shout progression. He wasn't a prophet, he was a mask, on a beast with a long, unholy task. Rewrite the code, reclaim the youth, burn the books and rebuild with truth.
In his 1991 interview with Paidika, Underwager stated that pedophiles can boldly and courageously affirm what they choose. They can say that what they want is to find the best way to love, an acceptable expression of God's will for love and unity. It may take people being arrested. Revolutionaries have always risked arrest. As alarming as this is, during our investigation, we were surprised at the number of people who seemed to accept the pedophile philosophy.
And how do you feel about the issue of child pornography?
I kind of think that it probably doesn't make sense in the same way that nothing else makes sense, but unlike a lot of people who just have this visceral reaction to it, I kind of feel like if people are having sex and if they just want to do it, you know, openly, it really shouldn't make a difference what age people are.
It's our strict laws that result in so many of these kids being killed by child molesters because they're so afraid of what would happen to them if they get caught. It's a direct result of our stringent laws. I mean, I think everybody's got to be broken in somehow, you know, and ever since the dawn of man, it's been a normal thing where people, when they're young and don't know anything, get broken in by somebody.
If they're old enough to bleed, it's all good, as far as women are concerned.
Today, on their official website, the Institute states that there need to be sociosexual activities available to those disadvantaged because of age. Some believe this is a veiled reference to children, and that the Institute calls them disadvantaged because it's illegal for them to engage in sex. Can this really be the case? We decided to pay a visit to the Institute and question them about this and some other information on their website.
Even if it's 2 minutes, the opinion.
No, I really can't. No.
Can you answer one question for us, sir?
Needless to say, our initial attempts were met with resistance.
Can we get just one answer? On your website, which you make public, you state that you help those who are disadvantaged because of age sexually. Does that add up to endorsing pedophilia?
We do not endorse anything up there.
I would strongly recommend that you turn the camera off and leave right now. This is private property. Get out.
Despite what appears to have been a denial, the Institute's website declares it is the sexual right of all people to engage in sexual acts or activities of any kind whatsoever, and that people have the right to sexual entertainment, including sexually explicit materials dealing with the full range of sexual behavior. If taken literally, these so-called rights would obviously include pedophilia and child pornography.